Good evening, everybody. As promised, we have got Lionel coming on this evening after we've had a huge day of sadness across the world, the outpouring of support for Virginia. We had Kirby Summers on earlier who broke down, going back 5 years now, we've been collaborating with Virginia and Kirby and other survivors. I've emailed Maria Farmer, I've emailed Juliet Bryant. Juliet Bryant got back to me saying she's feeling under a lot of pressure today, but she appreciates the love and support. So if there's any survivors please contact them and just tell them that, just give them loving vibes, because it's really, people are really traumatized by this. So anyway, Lionel is going to, as usual, he's going to break it down for us and give his perspective, and all of Lionel's links are in the description box if you want to support his work. And thank you for joining us, my friend.
Thank you. Let me preface this by saying, not a trigger warning or whatever you want to call it, but I want to tell you the truth. I'm going to speak to you from the heart, irrespective of this poor woman. And I'm going to ask questions which I think need to be asked. Number one, do you believe anything you've heard? Is there anything where you could say, yes, this is exactly true? Now, I can't say the S word. I don't know what algorithms are flagged. By the way, I'm doing the home of my my alma mater in New York, WABC Radio, and I do overnights on the weekend, and it's a 50,000 watt monster. Do you know there are no algorithms? Do you know on AM radio, there's nothing. You as long as you don't. The irony of this is supposed to be so great and open, and we can talk. I was finding myself, other than the 7 dirty words, I can say anything I want because the story happens to involve self-harm, and I don't have to think about certain files. And I mean, it's the irony of this. So that notwithstanding, the first question is, do you believe anything you've heard about anything involving her? What was found, what the stories are? Do you believe it? I know what the official story is. Somehow she was found unresponsive. By whom? Give me the pictures. Give me the information. We know more about Gene Hackman and his cat or his dog and what it looked like and his wife. We're told nothing. Some cars, it's where she lived. Some people bringing some food. That's it. Who responded? And I'm asking because maybe you know.
Yeah, so Kirby Summers was on today, who's very close to Virginia. And she said that Virginia lives with her 71-year-old carer.
Okay.
So we're assuming that is the person that called it in, but it's not been verified.
See? Now, again, what was the state of her? What was this? And I mean to be specific. Who came in and investigated? What were the pictures? Where is she now? Where is her actual remains now? I don't know what Australian forensics are, but you in the United States, this is a crime scene, and that person, before being exchanged off or released to mortuaries or funeral homes, this is a crime scene where scrupulous pictures, data, toxicology, fingernails look absolute, the most incredible inspection, but like you cannot believe. If people saw what it was, every crevice, every fold, everything you can imagine. I one time knew there was a case. There was a medical examiner technician who, by the way, are the best. Those are the first people on the scene. And this one guy was doing this. And I said, "What are you doing?" And he said, "Bullets oftentimes will make a trajectory, hit the shirt, and stop." He said he's seen everything. And before you move it, before it is touched, this has to be looked at everything. I mean everything. Toxicology. How do we know it was self-dispatch? How do we know that? There are 4 types of, as you know, forms of actually 5, but the acronym NASH, N-A-S-H, natural, accidental, suicide, homicide. Sorry, I don't know how to say this. I'm trying to give you a textbook.
Unalived herself. That's what we say.
Yes, indeed. Okay.
Yeah.
So you can pretty much look at this and eliminate things. She's 41 years old. Was there any, do we know of any kind of a medical condition or anything that might have precipitated it? That notwithstanding. How do we know anything else? How do we know? Now, a couple of things too. There are some not photos, but graphics going around, and you probably have seen them, Sean, of her purportedly saying, "I am well, I am happy, I am not anticipating anything like this. If anything happens to me, I've spoken to my GP and my psychiatrist, I'm fine." Okay, that's number one. Alex Jones did that, by the way. It's weird. People are leaving these letters. You know, sometimes on social media, you say, "I'm okay." If there's some kind of a hurricane or tornado, I'm okay. I'm checking in. Mr. Epstein, by the way, at the end of his life, was explaining to his lawyers how excited he was, how he looked forward to the appeal process. He was giving monies for various commissaries. He felt terrific. He said, "We're going to beat this. We're going to, you know." So there he was, one of my favorites, Sir Haddad. But he was, how do I say this? He was indicating a lot of things. She, after this car accident, was saying, "I've never felt better. Life is good." That story made no sense. The driver said, "I don't know what you're talking." Either she was driving or somebody else was driving. Nothing happened to warrant the physical bruising. When I first saw that picture, and we talked about it, I thought this was a mortuary shot or a medical examiner shot or a forensic shot, because she had all of the trappings of the facial expression mortis, as it were, lividity. It was, I thought, who sent this picture? Who took this picture? Why would anybody send this picture? This is not, and I mentioned also some things. She had necklaces and earrings. When you are in a hospital, and granted, if you're recovering, or that's fine, you have a little jewelry. But if you were in the emergency suite or ward or department or emergency room, all of that comes off in the event you have to be intubated or adhesive or tape. We don't want any of that stuff. So that didn't make any sense. All of a sudden, Sean, she's gone. And that was it. The end of, how do I say this? The end of any inquiry. Nobody follows up. Not TMZ. We are the ones who do it. We have the memory of an elephant. We never forget, but we can only do so much. Okay, cut to this. And excuse me for being all over the place, because you know how I am. I'm very excited about this. I am hearing, and you are going to be hearing, and people are going to be hearing, either from the Trump administration or Attorney General Pam Bondi or others, the number of people who are coming forward and saying, "They dropped my case. We didn't go away. The Biden administration wanted to have nothing to do with us." This is what needs to be said. They made it sound like, well, Virginia GIUFFRE was the only person. No, the DOJ, Department of Justice, the criminal investigation was all but shuttered. They said, if you want to do something, fine, sue them or do whatever you want. What President Trump has to do is to have a summit with Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, Kash Patel, head of the DOJ, Don Bongino from Assistant Director, have all these women and say, these people were denied justice by the Department of Justice, and now their claims are forever either barred or they are foreclosed from pursuing this. Maybe we can revive this. What I'm going to suggest, and I am I don't want to say dead serious because I'm doing a lot of inadvertent puns. I don't mean to be this. But Sean, I don't know about in your country, but in mine, we have a whole group of people of African Americans, mostly, who say, we want reparations. We want you to pay us millions of dollars for something that happened generations ago that we had nothing to do with. Well, if we can afford that, I think these women, mostly women, if not, who were the victim of this, should be paid by the federal government in terms of reparations for a government that turned their back on you. They turned their back. We knew of your enslavement. We knew of your victimization, and we looked the other way. It's called, in essence, misprision, where you do not act, where you do not. There are countless women you're going to be hearing who said, wait a minute. It wasn't that we didn't want to do anything. It was done. There was nothing there. We weren't all paid off. We weren't, handsomely remunerated for our. We were forgotten. And also, what I hope happens, Sean, is that this inspires Pam Bondi, our Attorney General, to sit there and say, enough with these files. We don't want files. We don't. If I hear that black book one more time, or travel laws, we don't need travel. Travel laws are not. Ethel Kennedy's name's on the travel law. What does this mean? We need to find out two main questions I told you. For whom did he work? And who dispatched him? That's it. Now we can talk about where are the other, the records of this and that sort of thing. There's another thing which is interesting. I don't know about you, but there is this debate that is going on, which is as boring as you can get. Douglas Murray, Dave Smith, Joe Rogan, Piers Morgan. It's the same four people talking about Winston Churchill, Israel. Bores me to death. But there was an interesting debate the other night. It was with John Kiriakou. You know him, right? A good man, former CIA, good friend of mine, knows his stuff. And he happened to be on a panel, Piers Morgan, with Alan Dershowitz. And the question was, did Mossad have anything to do with this? Now, Mossad doesn't sign their name and say, yes, we're going to, let me check there. Oh, yes, as a matter of fact, it's kind of like supposition. And you have Kiriakou here who knows a little bit about this. And Alan Dershowitz would say, no, absolutely not. Now, listen, I don't know. I don't know if anybody actually sits and signs off on this, but I will tell you that when you have Ehud Barak, Les Wexner, Alan Dershowitz, Epstein, not as agents per se of Israel, but do we have to pretend that we don't know how intel agencies work? I mean, do we have to keep pretending this? It's like we talk about it and we stop. We have to have, and this is the most important thing, during the 70s, or actually immediately after the Vietnam War, there was it was called a Russell Tribunal or a Sartre, notice my French, tribunal, where people would talk about Vietnam, and you would have people who would meet, and you would have kind of like TED Talks meets X whatever debates, and we would talk about this. We need to have fora, tribunals, where everybody comes forward for posterity. State your name for the record. This is what happened. What did you do? I turned my information over to the FBI. I was this year. This is a picture of me. This person, to have a citizens tribunal, a citizens grand jury. Not just a bunch of great little, YouTube shows, Candace Owens, which is fine. We need to have our own tribunals. We need to tell people this is what happened. So it is there as a matter of record in one place for historians. This is my name. This is where I was, to get the full story. Now, by the way, warts and all, and that means this. Sean, there are a number of women, I'm sorry, who will come forward and say, look, I didn't have I made a lot of money, or I might have been underage or not. I could have left. Nobody forced me. That doesn't excuse it. But remember, these people were not pulled into a white van and forced at gunpoint to do this, because the last thing anybody would try to do to elicit information in a honeypot is to have girls who are trembling, who scare the John or whoever the target is, where he says, what is this, a setup? What is this? You want to have people, if you're going to have something to record, they have to be okay enough with it that they don't seem hesitant. Am I making sense here? So all of this has to be laid out. We have to hear everything. We have to have the toxicology, up to and including Epstein. We have to have Dr. Baden testify and explain this is why it was not self-offing. These are the evidence. So that you want to sit back and say, oh my God, because once you look at the totality of it, you realize who's responsible. Biden administration. They could have stopped this. They were the ones in charge. Not only that, the whole world didn't want to know this because the oligarchs, the power elites, don't want us to get into the habit of thinking we can upset their apple cart, that we can embarrass them. They run the show. A lot of people are saying, I had nothing to do with this, but how dare some peasant YouTuber tell me I've got to come forward? I'm, some Etonian Oxford Don or wherever the hell I am. Oh, no. So this is, it's so sad, but I hope that we take her death and this inspires us this puts a flame under us to say, let's keep going with this. In her name, she can't talk. She's trying. I don't know. And let me just say, and I know I'm talking a lot and I can't help it. People are going to try to make her out to be a nut. They're going to say she's crazy and there was a custody problem and she did this and maybe she did drugs. Try going through what she went through. Try going through that. Everything in your life is turned upside down. This is not what you bargained for. This is not it. And the picture that infuriates me more than anything is the picture of her with Andrew and Ghislaine. Andrew, who can't sweat because he has anhydrosis. This liar, this predator, this reptilian coward who basically tells the world, you don't understand. I'm Andrew. I don't care about you. You mean nothing to me. You're just some wastrel. You're some strumpet, some courtesan. Get out. I just scraped you off my shoe. I'm done. I'm a Windsor, maybe. This is this attitude that he has and others. These women are nothing. Remember Epstein during his deposition? It says it all. Watch that. Look at his attitude. Like, can you believe they're asking me? Do you know who I am? Do you know who I am? And let's tell people who he is. Let's tell how he came from nothing. How he went from being not even a college education to working at this high-priced private school in New York, to have Bill Barr, to be with Bear Stearns, and all of a sudden put out if ever there was somebody groomed, you know how we have these ideas that somebody was pulled out of nowhere, put into the position, all of a sudden, you're going to be our guy, and we're going to set you up with everything. Look, here's a house. Les Wexner, give him the house. Here's the largest private home at the time in Manhattan. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, and nobody ever says, who is this guy? I know people in New York right now, you know this, I can swing a dead cat, and hit a billionaire. I know billionaires. I mean, not that it's not that uncommon. And one hedge funder told me, I know everybody. You don't do what I do unless you know everybody on the street, on Wall Street. I never heard of this guy. I never heard of him. Who is he? Jeffrey, what? Did he trade? Did he, at least Bernie Madoff had an office. He had people pretending in the Ponzi scheme. This guy, nobody questioned him. And the people in the media intelligentsia, the cognoscenti, the ones who wanted to get to know him, nobody said, hey, listen, hey, Sean, not for nothing over here, but who is this guy? Let me check. Let me pick up the phone. Call my friend at NYPD. Who is this guy? What's going on here? And I'm sorry I'm doing this, but I can't help it. When you are Bill Clinton, Prince Andrew, Bill Gates, you are privy to your own private security, connected to every other agency, law enforcement. Everybody knew who he was. Everybody. How did they say, Mr. President, if you want something, this type of action, we can go to countries where I guarantee you this will never, I mean, what are you doing with this man? You're with Prince Andrew. Do you know? And MI6 probably picks up MI5, but calls up. There's a CIA. They all know each other, and they say Scotland Yard and every intel agency. They're probably saying, "What's going on here? Does your guy know? Why is he here? Why are you doing this? You do know this happened. You know, this also happens in this wonderful event. Have you ever heard of, I'm sure you've heard of it, but this wonderful term called yachting, where all of a sudden these people will say, hey, listen, are you a B-grade actress? Or why don't you come on out and hang out? Hang out with us. Make a couple of million and you can hang out. And then I can tell my rich friends, hey, would you want to hang out with Lindsay Lohan? I'm just picking up a name. I'm not suggesting, but I'm just picking up a name, or Kardashian or whoever. Sure. And what do I have? I have a boat in international waters, wired for sound. Same thing. Happens now. It happens now. This is going to be, I think, slowly kind of worn out when we have different other ways of using electronics to blackmail and the like. But this is going on as we speak. And don't forget, whenever you see any group of actors, elites, whether it's the Academy Awards, BAFTA, anything, anytime the elites meet together in any organization, that's where it comes up. Do you know the number of people with a lot of money who say, you know, they kind of expect us to be involved in satanic, ritualized behavior? Yeah. You never know, whenever we do this and that, we get our name. Whenever we're with Abramovich or whatever it is, we have a certain air about us. This is kind of groovy. You know what? This goes back to Anton LaVey, to Sammy Davis Jr. This is, that kind of stuff builds up. And pretty soon you're saying, you know, this is pretty interesting. So you've got these freaks meeting together in places with cameras. I mean, and Sean, you've met these people. They feel impervious. They feel, I don't have to worry about that. I've been doing this for years. I'm doing it. Well, if they get me, they're going to get him. It's what we do. We're better than the rest. We're on another planet. We don't pay bills. And years before Elon Musk and Doge came along here in our country, there were people who were being paid left and right from funds and NGOs nobody heard of. And be on the lookout. George Clooney, as I told you last time, is on Broadway in a play called Good Night and Good Luck about Edward R. Murrow. You might have seen him. He has his hair dyed to play the role. I wouldn't be surprised if they promised him the Tony Award for all of his dutiful service over the years as a pliant rube of these folks. Not only that, the dirt they probably have on him. So the more we investigate Ghislaine, the more we investigate Virginia, the more we investigate Hollywood and Clooney, we all find out, wait a minute, this is all kind of interconnected. This is very interesting. It is a cabal, a cadre, a convocation, a consortium of this corrupt idiocy. And just pick one area and start digging. You're going to find something. And this tunnel leads to this area. There's something that's happening in this country. I'm seeing it now more and more. We're talking more about geoengineering, and the great Dane Wigington is talking about this. Richard Gage is now back meeting with architects and engineers for 9/11. People who were talking about certain immunization protocols are coming out again. All of the people that were suppressed, it's like a herpes flare-up. You thought it was down. Well, we're flaring up. And all of a sudden, have you noticed people are talking about stuff that a year or two ago, nobody would have ever gotten near this. and so forth. Saying, did you get away with it? Yeah. Is it okay? Is it safe? Is the coast clear? Alex Jones is making this tremendous apotheosis, this phoenix-like revision. We're back in control. I don't know about you, and the elites are scared big time. They don't know what's going on. How do you like that?
Brilliant, man. You the interweaving of many threads and a grand scope. Let me just add a little bit though as well.
Good.
We've got over 2,000 watching, so please subscribe to Lionel on YouTube. All these links are in the description box. Just a few little details I'll add from the people who have told me who know Virginia. So Virginia was essayed and R-worded from her early teens before she fell into the clutches of Maxwell and Jeffrey. So imagine, viewers, the years and years of trauma this poor woman had. So I was also told that she had a pre-existing, the kidney condition was from before the mysterious crash with the bus story that came out last month. And Kirby Summers also said today that the guy she married, yeah, even though he got her away from Epstein and Maxwell, he'd been abusing her and beating her